You know, speaking of crowds, there was a huge crowd over the weekend down in Georgia, one of the big pavement racing events. This thing rivals some of the biggest events that we've seen, and on short notice. It was supposed to be at Lanier Speedway, and then they had to cancel that event. They moved it down the road south of Atlanta to Watermelon Capital Speedway on Sunday for they call SpeedFest 2012. Had a Kansas City driver make a run down there and made the show. Joe Ross is joining us right now. Joe, how you doing?
Just fine. How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad. Tell us about this event. Now, Kyle Busch and Casey Elliott were down there. Kyle Busch won this big event. Tell us about this event. This was huge, and you said the crowd was big.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 14,000 people. Yeah. Billy Elliott's kid, Chase Elliott. He won the Jegs All-Star race, which is what I was in, and Kyle Busch won the Supers, which was a CRA race, the 200-lapper. We were in a 150-lapper. David Reagan was there. Nemechek's son was there. They evidently a bunch of them had the weekend off because they had over 70 cars between the two classes, and they were selling standing room only seats and only 9 days notice at this track because the other venue they were having trouble with the promoters on that and filled her up. It was a couldn't ask for anything to go any better.
Were you running with the crate late models? Is that what you were doing, Joe?
Yeah, the Jegs. It was a Jegs race, but it wasn't a points race. But yeah, it was a crate motor class. Now up at Lanier, I was going to run the crate motor class at Lanier because the track is so slick. The crate motors were faster than the Supers. They couldn't tame them down enough. I had Bubba Pollard gave me his restrictor plate. Just tried to. I didn't even bring one up at Lanier last year, and picked up a half a second putting a restrictor plate on it. So. When we signed up, I actually signed up for the Supers for the big motor race, and then they canceled it. And this other track here, it'll hold all the horsepower you can give to it. And I didn't have the. In fact, my big motor was coming to Georgia with McGonigal to deliver it down there, so I didn't even have my big motor ready. But so we had to kind of jump ship on the big motor race. But yeah, it was a heck of a show.
Joe, you and I raced out at I-70 for many years. And we were just talking about that. Every time you drive to Georgia or you drive to New Mexico or wherever you go, Tucson, wherever you go to run a race, and you do a lot of traveling.
Oh, yeah.
How painful is that to drive by I-70 and see it sitting over there rotting like it is?
You know, we were all, it's funny you say that. We were looking out the windows because coming from the east, you got to drive by that place every time. And it's you know, we were 16, 17 years there, a lot of laps. It's just sad, you know, and it's so far gone now. They're just going to have to start over if it ever even happens, and it's just one of those deals. There's no rhyme or reason why that had to happen.
There's probably no one better to ask than you because you travel around so much to a lot of these pavement venues. Where are we at with pavement racing right now? Do you see any kind of a comeback at all?
You know, it's really, if anybody doesn't get, I went to the Winchester 400 here a couple months ago. I had never been before, and I'd been to the track, but I'd never been to the 400, and, you know, they're selling out the stands. Everywhere we're going, Colorado National out there, they sell standing room only there, the little I-25 there in Colorado. We had to move our spotters twice because there were so many people up there that, you know, it seems like everywhere but here, asphalt. You know, I was just born in the wrong part of the country, but you know, the money seems to be there. I mean, you couldn't have got any more tractor trailers in down there at SpeedFest. They were sent. There was two guys that had to go home from Ontario, Canada. That wasn't quick enough. So it's just there's. I think it's just everywhere but here. You know, just the geometry, and there's so many dirt tracks and all that. But they're not scared to bring the iron to some of these places. I mean, everybody's bringing two cars and filling the places up.
You know, Joe, I got to think that when Ron Varney's ASA went out of business, that had to help things kind of clear up. You know, because so many people were talking about Varney's deal and Oost's deal and which one was which and what did they run and these rules and those rules and, you know, ABC bodies here and pony bodies there. And I mean, I think that it diluted, especially asphalt late model racing, a little bit. Do you think that it, with that going to the wayside, that's going to strengthen asphalt late model racing in the future?
Yeah, I really do, because the Midwest, Hoos deal around here kind of caters to the north a little bit, north as far as regional.
Right.
But Ron's whole deal. I mean, I try to be a kind of a laid back racer, and whatever goes. But I could not get squared up headwise with Ron Varney. I mean, he'd call 1 minute when they didn't have a car count, and want us to come race with him, and then you get up there and call us on something silly, Nashville. I had to go through the tech line twice because my headlight decals. I like the ARP headlight decals better than the 5-star, and I had them on there, and he made me go back through the line and change them again. At $50 a throw, just silly stuff like that, and and that just kind of compounded. And I think it's all about the people. I mean, Glenn Luckett. He's got all these hundreds of people. He's trying to get this deal changed.
Is that the CRA?
Yeah, he's CRA, and he took the time to call me to make sure that I knew that this other racetrack was three hours further, and there's anything he could do to help to get there. And he gave us some fuel tickets at some of the truck stops, and just anything he could do to. And I'm a nobody with that. I don't run that series all the time. So, that goes a long ways with a guy that's doing all this out of his own pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about what's going on down at Lebanon I-44? You've been down there a few times. How's things going down here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we run, I think we ran 10 races down there last year. They're going the right direction. I have no complaints. I think they need to get some of this restart stuff kind of straightened out, get some more people up in the stands with monitors to try to get that lined up. That takes way too long. People don't like that. But I had crashed the car I was racing down there, so I had to take the last race off. So I rode my motorcycle down there, and it just was a spectator and kind of keeping lap times on everybody. And I had to look for some place to sit, So they're going the right direction. I mean, I really have they had the little rivalry between Chrissy and Dickinson, that other kid, and that's what it's all about. But we had 20 cars there, the last couple of races, and never really under 15. So I'm going to try to race down there every weekend that I can.
The Willard family, they're committed. You don't have to worry about like what we had out at I-70. Are they going to be open next week? Are they going to be there next year? They're steady Eddie when it comes to their passion for pavement racing and trying to bring in the people that they brought in Armstrong down there to run that place from Iowa Speedway.
Yep.
They're really proactive on promoting the races and spending the advertising dollars to do it. And let's face it, the Springfield community supports that racetrack, as you said.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
He's firm where he needs to be firm, and not. I mean, he's not no dummy. So,
right.
Like I say, I've seen good and bad promoters all over the country, and he's good. He knows what he's doing, and they up the purse there. The suites, they're super nice. I mean, it's and of course, the pavement. I mean, you can roll around in the pits in a white shirt and come up clean. I mean, it's they keep everything really, really nice down there.
Of course, they allow the trucks to come down there and run about 3 months after I sell my truck.
I heard that.
How about that?
Go is still for sale over there. It's complete and ready to go, brand new.
Yeah, I'd probably get a brother-in-law deal on that, right?
There you would, exactly.
There's only one problem with that truck.
Yeah, well, there's a couple. Bright green and 13 on it,
and it's a Ford.
Yes, it is a Ford, but
I'm a Chevy guy.
It's got a good one. It's a fast truck.
Yeah, but I'm a Chevy guy. I bleed those little Chevy emblems. I know it's a heck of a deal. Anybody wants one, get a hold of Joe. You'll probably take it down there and run it, won't you?
We've talked about it. I just, we got with Dave's modified. He's still got. We put together that Ainsworth modified that Huey and them had over there. And,
oh, really?
And Dave had that cancer issue going on last summer and got all that cleared out. And we bought a stacker trailer so we can haul both of them down there. So he's going to be racing that if he's, if he's up to it.
Hey.
So
You had your hands full with that deal if you had to refurbish that dude.
Yeah. It was pretty much just a bare frame after we got done with it. But we did it right, put a new steering box on it on back, so it's...
I love Gary Don, but that boy could crash as hard as anybody.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's definitely been stubbed a couple times.
More than a couple, right? yeah, but that's good, though. I'm glad to see the modified racing pick back up because, Joe, and I know, and I put some video up here as of late on Racing Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day... I know back in the 88, 89, 90, 91, the early 90s, there wasn't any better racing than watching the modifieds at I-70.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it didn't get it. And listen, if you were anybody, you didn't want to run a late model even back then. Remember that? Remember when people wanted to run a modified, they didn't want a late model.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, Scott, I mean, they are a lot more fun to drive, a lot more forgiving. Cheaper, but they are a funner car to drive. I mean, the way they've got these late models stuck, well, you can ass up in a hurry, and it's just the modifieds are just a fun car to drive. I mean, it's I miss it, but we might get to drive Dave's here a couple of times. I sold that guy. I bought that new modified. That Fred built, and turned around, a guy down there in Houston bought it, and I was kind of looking forward to doing that, but just had too many things on the trade.
I'll be honest with you, I'd love to have a pavement modified again. My biggest regret ever of any of the cars that I've ever sold, and I've owned a lot of them over the years, was after Clem redid my modified in 2000, 2001. Remember, that's my game picked up, started winning races, and we were running up front and doing that kind of stuff, and contending, and then I had to go and get a damn super truck.
Yeah.
What the hell was I thinking? Give up the best damn modified, one of the fastest modifieds out there.
Definitely,
and I give it up right when I think start. It's like I kick my ass every time I think about giving up that modified. I wish I had it now.
Where's that car at?
It went to Texas, and a guy won the championship at San Antonio with that, and then I think the next year destroyed it. He won like 8 features with it when he took it down there.
Wow.
Yeah, and then what did I do? I had a truck, and I was racing against 6 or 7 trucks every week.
Yeah, live and learn.
Hindsight is what it is, right?
Yeah, but I really think the modifieds are coming back. They had some hellacious races down there at I-44, and they've got kind of this Rattler. We're getting ready to go down there to the Rattler in South Alabama. And we were kind of looking at taking Dave's car down there to that deal, but they're on aluminum head. That Gulf Coast rules basically put a 4-barrel on it and look like how you can hook it up. I mean, aluminum heads, whatever you want to run, 2,500 pounds, and if you run a crate motor, it's 2,500. I think it's 2,550 if you want to run an unlimited motor.
That's the same deal they run down at New Smyrna, right?
Yeah. Same deal as New Smyrna, and really the same rules they got out in Colorado now. All them boys out there, they're on the big motor, try to hook it up type deals, and crate motor will run right with them. It's really a good deal.
That's where we kind of got the idea of those roofs that Clem and us started using in the beginning, and then everybody kind of got on board with the lightning bodies. Remember?
That's what I put on the black car that I just sold. I put one of them lightning body roofs on it. Man, it looked good. Did you ever see that car?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful car. I just had everything but the engine and transmission done in it, and brake lines were running and everything, and that guy who owns that Houston Motorsports Park down there come up and bought it.
He must have paid a boatload for you to get rid of it after doing all that work. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, he didn't. I threw a number out there.
And it stuck, huh?
It's like, wow, really? And here he came. He was there in 2 days.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing. I do miss pavement racing. I love my sprint cars, and I love traveling around doing that. But as a driver, I always enjoyed really running the pavement. And I think, I was talking like Jake Richards the other day. He's been doing pretty good in a modified. And I asked him the other day. I was out there looking at some radios they had for sale. We were needing to buy some radios for a Racing Boys broadcast, and I said, "Do you miss the pavement?" He goes, "To this day, he still misses it."
I had so much fun down there, and I went down there expecting an ass kicking. I mean, there was everybody who's anybody. I mean, down there, and I was elated with 20th and where I ended up, because it's a really, really rough group. I was just wanting to get in the show,
right,
and not drive 1,000 miles to get sent home, and just the quality of the cars out there. I mean, if you like pavement racing, that race there, you would have. I mean, it's every. I mean, the Snowball and Nashville and everything. I mean, it's the quality or better of any of those races.
We better cut this conversation off, because I'm going to have to go buy me an asphalt late model.
How big's this Rattler race you're going to in South Alabama in early March? How big's that event?
It's right up there with them. I put them, in the top 5. It's one of their big shows, and the promoter come up in the trailer and talked to me for a while on it, and guaranteed me, a race in it. He said it's a little more maybe catered to our style of racing, but it's going to be one of those. I mean, Mike Garvey and all them, they're back in it again too. So I mean, you got old guys, young guys, everywhere from 14 to 55, and I think it's going to be a good one.
Hey, Joe, what if somebody took a local dirt track around here? I've been wanting to do this forever. Take one of these little bull rings, little quarter-mile tracks, put pavement on it. You think people would show up, make it like a little Anderson?
The quarter-mile tracks are exciting. You got to have a little bank to them and all that. I mean, that's almost exactly what they did with I-25, and they repaved it, and it is a true quarter mile. I mean, we run a 672 gear down there, so
wow.
it's a quarter mile. But I'll tell you what, I've run 100 lappers down there with 28 cars with no yellows. I mean, unbelievable. And they fill the stands. I mean, it's
what about CMS? What do you think it being a little paved track?
It's got to stay that size. You can't do the I-70 deal.
No.
I think if you put some bank to it and make it, the biggest thing these guys like is a no back straightaway wall, so you can run off kind of like I-44. But
right.
I think it would go. I really do. I mean, it's just I-44 has kind of got the pavement deal going again, but I think they need a little competition too. So. I think it would go, but I don't know. I don't think pavement's too far gone to come back. I don't think
anywhere where you can limit exposure to that wall, which costs a lot in your pocketbook.
You say that though, Joe. There's still quite a few pavement cars around town.
Oh yeah, there is. Alan Knoll still got his, and there's a lot of them around. I mean, Terry Smith, he was bringing his down there every other week whenever he could, and
Shane Roach, Mike Clem still has his.
Yep. Yeah, they're still around. I mean, it's just people where because they're going to have to spend some money to get it back on the track, because these guys down at I-44, they're no pushovers. I mean, you're going to have to get with the program, and I think if they would just this 1 year going as good as it did, and maybe one more, I think it's going to be game on.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Well, good luck, bud. Appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk to us. It's fun talking a little pavement racing. A little change of pace, Again,
Exactly.
I love my pavement, but
it's out there, man.
My only problem was, Joe, I got discouraged when I went to those final couple ASA races when Barney was running them. I'm not joking.
Terrible.
There was one race where we had 60 cars in the pits between USST and ASA, and I'm not joking when I say this. There was 25 people in the grandstands.
No.
25 people.
You go to one of these CRA races, how they're, how Glenn and them guys are doing it, and even, Hoot Steel in the Midwest, it's a whole different deal. I mean, they're sending people home, and they're quality cars. I mean, it's
the grandstands though that I'm worried about.
Well, they're filling a lot of these places up.
Well, I hope they continue to do so, because that's what we need. All right, Joe. Thanks so much, bud.
Joe.
Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Now, that was a fun conversation. I think it just goes to show you that pavement or dirt or whatever, the racing's good, and you go out and promote it. And that's the key factor. That's the Varney, the old ASA late model series. Those guys didn't promote those events. That's why nobody showed up. They weren't promoted.
I don't know. Were you there? Do you know if they promoted them?
I was at an event up in Milwaukee where, absolutely nobody showed up to that event.
But, do you know they didn't promote it? I don't know what they did in their advertising.
I didn't see any advertising around.
Kirk,
I don't think a lot of people in Milwaukee even knew that it was going on.
Kirk, but that happens. It doesn't matter. You go to the Chili Bowl, and there's people in Tulsa that don't even know what the Chili Bowl is.
But it doesn't matter if the stands are full.
I'm saying, though, you could promote the heck out of it.
Well, what about
some people just don't know?
What about this event down that Joe was at over the weekend, the SpeedFest down there south of Atlanta, where they had an overflow crowd? Now, granted, Kyle Busch being there and Chase Elliott had a lot to do with that, but it's still, you have to go out and promote the event, especially when you had such short notice as they did when they moved it from Lanier Speedway. There had to be some promotion.
Kyle Busch was there, too.
But there still had to be some promotion going on.
More people were probably there to see Kyle than there were Chase Elliott.
Could be.
I would say.